Welcome to the December 28th, 2021 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And this is the last one of 2021, Lotus.
That is true, This is a post-Christmas, pre-New Year's podcast. Incredible.
It's pretty credible. Like a
no,
witness.
I mean, I cannot believe it. And I, in fact, refuse to.
You know what? What is something that's canny? Like, anything? Like
Hold
uncanny.
on for just 1 second. I think there's a dervish behind me that I need to talk to.
It's whirling. May or may
no, it's
not
not.
be
That's
whirling.
Why it's weird.
Yeah, it's just a dervish.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's a dervish.
It's so weird.
And hold on, I put my headphones on a little weird. I need to make sure that I am properly kempt for this podcast.
Kempt.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, what's canny? Like, anything that's normal? Like...
I guess.
Like, let me look at this up. Dictionary.com. I'm literally doing this.
I mean, I've heard of like a canny attitude or something, but I don't know about the opposite of uncanny.
Canny is careful, cautious, or prudent. Okay.
Yeah, that seems to be just
so
a different word.
Astute, shrewd, knowing, sagacious. Skilled, expert, frugal, thrifty. Wow.
That's a lot of... That's quite the range. So basically when you say someone's canny, you don't know what the hell they mean.
That's adjective, but the adverb is cannily in a canny manner. So,
well,
careful,
can't argue
cautious.
with that.
So, I mean, like,
You
Uncanny X-Men, they're
cannily.
daring. They're daring, I guess.
Yeah, but frugal? What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess frugal and cautious go together, right? Careful.
Sure.
Prudent. Yeah, no, that's all. That's shrewd. Yeah, no, that's all.
Why not?
I don't know about skilled and expert, though. That... I guess discerning. Canny is discerning.
Sure, why not?
Overall,
basically not the X-Men is what we're saying.
Yeah, well, the X-Men are not shrewd at all.
They are not.
They're spendthrifts.
They are spendthrifts.
Got our SAT words of the day here.
Speaking of which, I was reminded today that there is a difference between uninterested and disinterested. Do you know what that is?
Uninterested is like if disinterested, you were interested before, and then you left the interest.
Nah.
Okay.
Neither of those are before and after.
Okay.
Excuse me. Neither is. Uninterested is not interested. Like indifferent, don't care. Disinterested is neutral, as in not partial.
Okay.
So you would want a judge to be disinterested.
Okay. Yeah. So disinterested is somebody who has no stake.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Disinterested
So
is
that would be a
vegetarian.
vegetarian. A vegetarian, in other words.
Oh, it took me a second. Okay, got it. I was like,
they wouldn't have a stake out.
Oh.
So enough of this. We're obviously filling
Enough
time.
Of this. Enough of this crap.
Because honestly, I mean, what do you expect on a holiday week? It's a very slow week for anything like video game and movie related. I guess not movie related. We did have some pretty hefty movie things happen this week, but I guess I could talk a little bit about that once we get through this. But yeah, I mean I mean, what do you want? I mean, like all the video game stuff that would happen, it like happened way before this, you know, for as far as release dates go. So like nothing big came out, like nothing that anybody was clawing at the walls for. But I guess probably the biggest thing that happened this week that people are talking about, especially on Twitter, is that like the Nintendo eShop went down yet again on Christmas Day.
What a day to go down.
I mean, but like it makes sense. I mean, everybody's updating their firmwares and like
Yep.
buying, you know, spending their you know, their e-cards and all that stuff. So
and speaking of which, speaking of updating firmware, I've been seeing this message each year for not since the PS4 launch, maybe more closer to the Switch launch, but those little tips for parents when you get your kid that new current gen console for Christmas, do them a favor, and even though it takes the fun out of it if you unbox it, if you update the firmware overnight, they can just play the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh boy, my new Nintendo Switch, and they just had to sit there for like 3 hours.
I don't know. For me, part of the fun is doing that, like getting it all set up. So
well, part of the fun is unboxing it and plugging it in. I'll give you that. But like, and now to a loading bar for literal hours, like depending on where you live. Like,
yeah.
Well, that part's less fun.
It is
the
less
unboxing.
fun.
I understand that's the real magic, but then you turn it on and nothing happens.
See, the worst part is as an adult, like when there's a big update to a game, like, and I literally only had
that was your night. Sorry,
those are my 2 hours that I had during the week that I could dedicate to gaming. Yep, honestly, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of free time. In fact, if I wasn't doing this, I would be gaming because, like,
you should wear a shirt. Like, not that anyone could see it on the podcast, but you should wear a shirt that says, like, I'd rather be gaming.
Well, the funny thing is, I'm wearing a shirt that says Gabagool on it. Which is really funny.
Gabagool. Perfect.
My wife got me as one of my Christmas presents. I always make fun of the way that like Italian Americans speak because they don't speak like Italians.
Well, it's very like the gabagool, isn't that like very
Capicola?
Yeah, it's like very like a kind of abridged. It's how a lot of
it's bastardized entirely.
Well, yeah, a lot of like British and American words are just condensed versions of what they used to be. I might have said this on the podcast before, but I remember learning in my sophomore English class that the town or city in Massachusetts that PAX East is in, Boston, that's apparently not its name. It's Buttlestone, but no one's calling it that. So, but if you say it fast a bunch of times, have you been to Buttlestone? It's like, it's just, fuck it, it's Boston now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same thing with everything that says ton at the end.
My hometown, actually. Well, so.
Oh fuck! What was it? I know what that was. This is gonna piss me off. I wanted to say West something, but that's somewhere else.
Well, that's Westchester, but that's close.
Westchester's where now. Yeah. This is gonna make me mad.
Washington Township is where I grew up, but
okay.
But I was referring to my current town, which I'm not going to talk about on the air.
No, I know, but I'm thinking like anything like Kingstown or like, center of New Jersey, because I live in central Jersey, like
sure.
Princeton, like that's Princetown.
Well, there's
come on, they're town, but it's Princeton.
In this part of Pennsylvania, we have East Norriton, which is actually East Norristown, but they call it East Norriton. They took the S out too. Which is kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, is anybody really surprised? I mean, Nintendo's online infrastructure has never been very good. And I mean, it's okay for certain things, but it's serviceable for downloading your games that you bought off the eShop, but that's about it. I mean, if you want a serious game of a competitive game, you're not gonna use their service. You're gonna play fun party games online that a little blip isn't gonna like ruin the fun. You
can play checkers online, like that Club 52, I think it is, or 51.
Oh, from way long ago. Yeah, sure.
But I mean, like Smash is a Nintendo exclusive, so that's a shame.
Yeah, I know. Mario Kart and all that jazz too.
But, yeah, Mario Kart. That should be brilliant online, but it probably isn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. They even charge now for it, so it should be good. But yeah, it just isn't. But anyway, what is good though is that there are a lot of really good sales going on right now.
Winter sale.
Yeah, the Steam shop, the PSN has a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
GOG has a good one going on right now. In fact, you wanted to bring up something about GOG, right?
Yeah, this was shocking to me. Isaac Rebirth and all of its DLC up to Repentance is available on GOG now.
Why does that surprise you?
It's been years. I just didn't see it coming.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think the most recent one still needs to hit the Switch.
GOG got it before the Switch did. Jesus.
Well, I think the Switch is that on PS4 right now? Binding of Isaac.
Afterbirth absolutely is. I don't know about the Repentance DLC.
Okay, I got you.
But I mean, Afterbirth, like that was on like store shelves.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I mean, I think that it's really cool that GOG gets stuff like that because they for anybody who doesn't know, like GOG's main thing, their main advantage over all the other shops out there, Epic Store and Steam Shop and even PSN and Nintendo eShop, is that they are DRM free. So it makes sense to buy things off of there if you want to be able to play this thing and you can back it up. If you want to play it for a good long time.
Yeah, if you want to download the game and not have to log into Steam. Not that that's that big of a deal, but you have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Steam uses resources itself. Like it's a client.
Oh, by the way, I was going to bring this up, but PSN had for PS Plus members, they had Mortal Shell for free.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
I mean, if you know exactly what you're doing, that game is a few hours long, but that's the whole thing. You don't, so it'll take you longer. It's a short Souls-like, but it's fun. It's a tight game, and that Virtuous Cycle DLC really expands the playtime. It's a fucking roguelike or I guess light for a Souls title. That's clever.
I also picked up Resonance of Fate HD as well.
I should get that.
That was on like super sale because of PSN. I think you can get it for under $20.
That's a solid title. I mean, it was pretty esoteric. I mean, even when it was
it's
out,
so unique. It's very unique.
Well, that's the thing. Like when it came out, it wasn't exactly like a blockbuster title. People were like, "What is this?" And for those who did buy it, it's weird. But like once you get used to it, it's a solid game.
It's also very charming.
It is.
I really like this, like kind of like the way the characters interact. Like it really. The more and more I play games, it's really about character interaction. For me, I really like that. Speaking of, I've been playing Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's just fantastic. I'll talk more about it later, but in Corrective, but. It's just one of the best games I've ever played. It's just really good. But I'm really enjoying it. But definitely check out whatever ecosystem that you're in, because like a lot of them are like going on super sale right now, probably through until the new year. So definitely recommend that, because I don't think games ever get cheaper than like the New Year's sales and the winter sales. The winter sales are usually the best.
Yeah, summer, winter, and Black Friday are like the big three, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on from that, you had a little announcement here from KoF.
Yet another King of Fighters character whom you may remember, they're in the game. Maxima, the guy with the power suit, who just like... I forgot if he had a chest beam out of his suit, but he definitely has like power moves with the suit, and he's just a really strong character because he's got this crazy power suit on. That's pretty much it. There's an amusing little interaction he has with K-Dash where he's like, where K-Dash is like, "Isn't your suit gonna just like melt off with extreme heat and be a liability? Like you're worse off for having it." And Maxima's like, "Hit me with the hottest flames you got, my suit will be fine." It's like, hey, nice.
That's awesome. I mean, this is poised to, like, if they really, come up with, a really, really good, way of fighting and everything feels right. This is poised to be the best King of Fighters game ever made.
Yeah, they just keep having reveal after reveal. I mean, a lot of them are old characters that, yes, they're back, but it's still really cool to see, and they're making an event out of this. It's like Smash reveals. Oh, here's this character. What? So the repeated, like once or twice a week reveals are just keeping their audiences engaged.
Yeah, I really like that too, because like like Melty Blood, like I feel like came and went. And they're really like keeping us on our toes for this game. I mean, granted, this is a series with that's 25 years old at this point. Roughly. Was the first one was 98? Was 94, right? So the like almost 30, almost 30.
With the non-plot, I love talking about that plot where Rugel's like, I'll defeat the fighters and turn them into statues for my collection. Like what? Like, what are you doing?
That sounds great. Sure.
Yeah, cool. Now that you have them, now what?
But yeah, I think I really think that this is going to be one of the best, and with the way that SNK has been making their games lately, I think they're poised to be really good, because Samurai Showdown turned out extremely well. And turned out to be like one of the more beloved fighting games. In fact, I think a lot of people say like one of the best Samurai Showdowns is the most recent one. So
yeah, I'm pleased about that, because that entire series just disappeared in the 2000s. Like PS2 was the last chance you had. PS2 and Wii.
Not only that, but like SNK has really only made King of Fighters games and re-released like old titles for a very long time. Yeah. So it's really good for them to go into one of their side titles, which would be Samurai Showdown at this point. I don't know why they basically combined it with Last Blade, because there's a bunch of Last Blade characters in there now. Which is good. Because
like they're not gonna continue Last Blade. I mean, I'm only aware of Hibiki. Is there more?
Well, I think there's 2 characters, but I could be wrong. I don't know. 2 is one more
than I thought, because like the only time I've ever heard of Hibiki, before I knew of the existence of Last Blade, was Capcom vs. SNK 2. Like, oh, there's this sword fighter in here, I guess.
I mean, they really should combine them. They're both similar.
Yeah, close enough. Yeah.
They're both very similar.
Same goes for like Baiken being in Samurai Showdown. Like, what a combination. Same goes for Haomaru in Soul Calibur. Like, what? Good.
Yeah, exactly.
He's Mitsurugi, only with a more upbeat attitude.
Exactly, and wild hair.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I just hope SNK's that scrappy company that could. They're still alive after all these years, even though they've gone through multiple bankruptcies over time, and through different eras and different ownerships, and they have still managed to make good products all the way through. So they've had their down points for sure, but it's the stuff that they're making these days, and the collections that they're putting out are really phenomenal. They're really good. So hats off to them. They're really cool. Speaking of old companies that are kind of scrappy, Sunsoft all of a sudden said, "Hey, we're thinking about remaking some of our classic titles. Please tell us like which ones you're interested in."
Probably everybody said Sunset Riders. I'll bet you.
Sunset Riders. That's a Konami game.
Oh, because it's Sun. Well, you know what? I was gonna say the second one. I bet you everybody said Batman, even though that's not happening.
So, here's like a brief overview of like what Sunsoft is famous for. So, early in the Famicom days, Sunsoft was known for making premier kusoge, like really, really shitty games.
Yeah.
So the early Sunsoft games for the Famicom were called one of them is called like Farmer's Rebellion or Ikki. Ikki in particular in Japan is like a game that everybody who bought a Famicom right when it came out also owned, because it was like one of the 5 games that was out. So like, people bought it. It's technically a shooter, but it's awful. It's really it's not a good arcade game, and it's a terrible port of that. So it's a really bad port on top of being a not so great game.
See, that's why you do Sega. Sega does what Nintendo don't. They released an arcade port of Altered Beast that was actually pretty good and had an extra level. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Didn't age well at all, but that's okay. It was fine then.
But yeah, I mean, they were also known for making Atlantis no Nazu, which is also a gigantic kusoge. Have you ever heard of Atlantis no Nazu?
I do not believe so.
So that's the Mystery of Atlantis. So it is one of the games that they played on Game Center CX. Have you ever watched Game Center CX or know what it is?
No, but I mean, you've told me about this because like I never watched it, but you did, where they would have some really hard game, and it doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It could be like a really hard shooter or something, and then they get the guy to come in and like help beat the game for them. But is this a case where you had to do that because the game was legit hard, or because it was just bad and it's like, don't worry, I'll do this?
It's one of those games where he had to get all the strategy guides, the old strategy guides from that time, because it's literally the only way to beat it.
And that's rough, by the way. Like that's the thing about that is you have to go get them. You have to find them.
Yeah.
Like you don't just Google this.
Yeah. So what happened with this game is it's similar to like Legend of Druaga.
Oh no, or Tower of Druaga.
Tower of Druaga. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So where like if you know what to do, then you just do it, but you don't know what to do.
So what Tower of Druaga is kind of like, the only thing that is kind of like a modern equivalent of that would probably be like Demon Souls when it originally came out for the PS3.
Yeah, like you can move forward and beat the bosses. That's not so bad. But if you want to figure out NPC stuff, you're just not.
Yeah. That what I mean by that is Tower of Druaga had a whole bunch of secrets. In it, like every level has a secret, and every way that every level has a different way that the secret works. So in order to figure it out, like basically people had to do everything, like literally everything, until somebody figured it out.
This is classic Doom, where you press spacebar on every wall in the game until something clicks.
Well, not only that, but like the way that you unlock it every time is different. Like you have to go. Sometimes it's like movement oriented. Sometimes it's like literally everything.
Doom eventually fell into that bullshit too, like Doom 2. Where there was proximity activated stuff and you didn't know where it was. Or you know what's a better example? I mean, it's still pretty much switch based.
Yeah.
Doom had proximity stuff and even shooting stuff, but let's say Hexen. I mean, it was all just push the switch, to be fair, but like you don't know what you're doing, and it affects different areas. Oh god.
So what people would do back then is that was an arcade game. So what people would do is once somebody figured out one of the secrets, they would leave a note on the machine for the next person, and then like the next person would get a little bit further in the game and then find the secrets. I don't know if the game is beatable without the secrets or not, because the secrets give you equipment usually, and the equipment makes it possible, like reasonable to accomplish the goals in the game, whereas it's near impossible without it. So like the secrets are really like the crux of the game, I think. So like people would just leave notes on this thing, and Demon Souls was kind of like that. Like people would figure things out and put it on a message board, or they would leave a note in the game, hey, check this out, that kind of thing. That's what I mean by Demon Souls was kind of like that.
Some of those, like figuring out how to get to Uria. Get the hell out! Like, and it's the only time. Like, do you know how to do that to get to Uria?
I never got to. I don't know what Uria is. I'm sorry.
It's so bad. There's a character, Uria the Witch. She's just locked up in a tower. And I mean, you've certainly played early Demon Souls.
Sure.
You know the ministers, those guys that wear the frilled collars.
Yes.
That have the scary smiley mask that go like and throw a fireball at you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, they got like the posh outfits, the frilled collars. They got the hat.
They look like beef eaters.
Yes,
what they look like.
Yes. There is one, like there is a specific one of those that when you kill, he drops his hat, And this is Demon Souls. Like, if he drops the item and you die before you get there, I mean, you shouldn't. But if you do, then it's gone.
I mean, you could be... Something could be attacking you, and you don't even know it.
Yeah, he's not alone. So, like, even though it should be an easy jog to get to his item, you're still, like, clenched for the 3 seconds it takes you. So you get his hat. The area where Yuria is locked, there is literally no way in, because the stairs are... You know how, like, some attics have that pull cord that pulls down the stairs?
Sure.
Well, the stairs are locked from within, so and a minister is just waiting there. You have to, like, put on the minister's hat and approach, and he'll just open it for you.
And fool him, yeah. Wow.
Nothing like this happens in the entire game. This is the one time where that's relevant. Like, which is why you're not going to figure it out.
Hilarious.
So you have to have it and know to use it.
That's
and then you go
really
up there
funny.
and just kill him and talk to Yuria.
Wow. Man. That's really a shame.
Yeah.
But
and
anyway.
Bloodborne brought that back. If you wear, like, the church garb, then this one woman of the church will join you. It's a little less ridiculous to figure out, because you just walk up to her and talk no matter what, but, like, man.
But yeah, I mean, so that game, on top of that, like, it wasn't very technically sound, like Atlantis no Nazu, I mean. So Atlantis no Nazu was also, like, a very plain looking game. It was like one of those early Famicom games that had, like, a black background on basically everything that you did.
Yeah.
And also, like, the attacking was really wimpy, and it's just like almost impossible. It is very it is very fun to watch somebody play it, because, like, it's baffling and weird. But it's a Kusoge because of that. Now, about a little ways into the late 80s, I would say like 88 or 89, Sunsoft all of a sudden started making really good shit and didn't stop. For the Nintendo, for the NES,
like the cowboy game Sunsoft Riders.
Not at all. But by this I mean there were a lot of really, really good titles. Among them being Blaster Master. You have Batman. All of these, like, are really good action games with great music, like really good music.
Yes.
And the graphics in them are beyond their time usually. They have really smooth animation or
the animation for Sophia in Blaster Master is surprisingly good.
Yeah, like the wheels are really neat looking.
With, like, the shocks when you jump and land on something.
Yeah.
And not only that, but, like, the bosses you fight when you're in human mode, like, this is an era where the bosses might be like a face, like Castlevania 2 or like that Japanese Transformers game where it's just like the Decepticon symbol.
Yeah, exactly.
But the bosses looked pretty good in Blaster Master.
Yeah, they took up, like, entire screens. You were fighting a gigantic frog in some instances, and so they made Batman, which is arguably one of the best character action titles on the system. I don't think there's too many that are better than it.
Blaster Master is a legit advanced Metroidvania.
Yeah, Blaster Master is a fantastic game. You have one kind of clunker in there. You have Fester's Quest as a clunker, but
that game should be better than it is.
Yeah, it really
should. The game's
should.
Mechanics are actually pretty good. It's just that, like,
it's flawed.
It's like they programmed the gun, like when you upgrade it, now the bullets do this, now the bullets do this, but it's like a different person programmed the gun upgrades and programmed the level design.
I feel like somebody could do a hack of that game and completely, like, fix it up. Because
you probably could, because like the crazy.
It's not very different than Blaster Master's overhead mode, like you were talking about.
Honestly, not really.
Yeah.
But like the problem with the gun is that, like, the upgraded version has the bullets go side to side, but everything is tight hallways. So you fire the gun and it just immediately dissipates into the wall next to you. So it's virtually useless unless you get into melee range, which is really not a viable option in Fester's Quest.
Yeah.
So the game becomes borderline unplayable.
But then again, you have other titles, like you have Journey to Silius, which is one of the best run and gun games on the system. It's really,
that was
really
going to be like a Terminator game, wasn't it?
Terminator game, yeah, correct.
I mean, like, it's one of those games where it no longer looks like, oh, that's licensed Terminator, but it looks like it looks very similar to Terminator. Like, they changed it enough, but it looks like a quality game.
They also had some really pretty high quality arcade ports on there. They had the original Spy Hunter on there. Which was a Midway game, but they made a sequel to that, which is unrelated in Japan, but it's a sequel in America. It's called Super Spy Hunter, and Super Spy Hunter is one of the best shmups on the system. I know you're a car, but it's a shmup. And it's extremely technically advanced for an NES game. It doesn't look like one. Like, there's some really neat visual trickery in that game that like very few other games are even in the conversation with. It's
and
really,
then The
really
Rock
neat.
was in Spy Hunter the movie.
No, he wasn't.
Wasn't he?
I don't think that movie ever actually came out.
Oh no! Oh no! Really?
Yeah, no, that game never actually came out.
But there was Spy Hunter Nowhere to Run on the PS2 and Xbox, which looks like it's a movie licensed game. I guess,
for a movie that never existed.
For a movie that never
that's amazing. Exactly. No, that's exactly what.
That's incredible.
What yeah. No, that's exactly what happened. So they had some other really, really good games, but I think we
Gremlins
is
2 thinking of remaking classic titles, and they were like, "What would you like to see?"
Yeah, Gremlins 2 is on there. That's a really good game too. But then there's
but like they're not doing Batman. They're not doing Gremlins 2.
Yeah, probably what most people are like big Sunsoft fans are gonna do, like the European and Japan only Euphoria, which is a fantastic game. That's a Metroidvania. That's a really, really, really good game. And Gimmick, which is also really fantastic.
Yeah, Gimmick has a great soundtrack.
Yeah, and there's also Rabbit World. What was that game called? The Game Boy one that was released around that time. I forget the name of that. But anyway, they made a Trip World, I think is what it's called. Yeah, Trip World. I'm sorry. That's another title that's kind of similar to Gimmick and Euphoria. It's just a really advanced platformer. Euphoria and Gimmick also have their unique sound hardware in those chips.
Yes.
That really are really stunning. It produces music that you would never believe is NES. Otherwise, unless you already knew that. So like they're asking, hey, what would you like from us? What do you want to see?
And again, I promise you, everybody's gonna say Batman, and it's like you don't really
Batman Return of the Joker is another good one too that they made.
Yeah, but but the point is though, like you don't really think they're bringing that back.
No, it's not gonna happen.
Michael Keaton Batman, okay, yeah, we'll get right on bringing that back.
Well, you know what? The way that Disney, I know this isn't Disney, but Disney has been really, really good about bringing back their old games lately. I'm wondering if Warner Brothers would throw them a bone, but I don't know. We did. I doubt it though. I doubt it.
It's specifically the 1989 movie Batman, where he kills the Joker by dropping him off of a fucking
Not only that, but I think it has like actual likenesses in it. Because it has digitized like likenesses from the movie.
In the still images, yes.
Yeah, so they have to probably pay Jack
Nicholson. It's like it's very obviously the Joker from the movie.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's like a digital version of a still from the movie.
Yes.
So I doubt that. But Euphoria and Gimmick, yeah, sure. Journey to Silius, yeah, sure. Blaster Master, absolutely. Blaster Master has had 3 recent sequels that have been fantastic. Or are they prequels? I don't know. But
there's a couple Blaster Master Zero games, I guess. There's
3
also
of them.
3 of them. Oh, and there's also the less well-known, I forgot what system it's on. That's like PS1 or something? Blaster Master 2? That's the thing that exists?
So Blaster Master 2 came out on the Genesis, and then there's another Blaster Master for the PS1 that I forget the name of. And then there's also a really not-so-great WiiWare one as well.
Okay.
But then they made the ones for the Switch, and those are really good. The Zero Blaster Master
Zero games. Yeah, where you can play as, like, weird DLC characters, like you can play as Shantae.
Yeah, but out of all the Blaster Master games, actually the most recent ones are the best ones. They're really good. They're like, I think they're made by Inti Creates, so they really know how to make a classic feeling game, except for Mighty Number 9. But anyway, they're really good at making games most of the time. So I just thought this was interesting. I mean, Sunsoft is one of those companies that has like unusual titles. They also, I think, own the Clock Tower license. Does that sound right? They made Clock Tower 3 at least.
Clock Tower 3 was Capcom.
But who made it? I think it was Sunsoft.
Okay, what, Capcom like published it?
Correct. They also made Haunting Ground. Sunsoft made... I know for sure they made Haunting Ground. Okay. Even though Capcom published it.
You're right. Well, Clock Tower 3, it looks like it was developed by Sunsoft and Capcom. It was published by Capcom.
Okay. I know Haunting Ground
Tower 1 was also like Human Entertainment.
Game. Yeah, Haunting Ground is also a Sunsoft game, I think, as well. Because that's kind of a sequel, a spiritual successor to Clock Tower 3. Yeah. So, I it's one of those companies that like oddly comes back every once in a while. Like they disappear and then they come back with kind of a fun game. They're weird like that. It's like, what have you been doing in the meantime? I don't understand.
Speaking of coming back out of nowhere, my favorite is the original creator of Clock Tower coming back and doing Nightcry.
Yeah,
it's just like, what? And it's on PC and Vita.
Okay. Yeah, and it was largely unsuccessful, so nothing else, literally nothing else, which is a shame. This is cool, though. This is like one of those really good success stories. Cruisin Blast has become so popular and sold so well that they're adding online multiplayer as an update.
I mean, those games are great. Like, we said that Samurai Showdown hasn't been around since the 2000s until the new game. Cruisin hasn't been around since, like, the 90s or possibly, like, the year 2000.
Yeah. The last one was Exotica, I think, before this. So
yeah, there was USA, World, and Exotica, I think.
Yeah, Exotica's the third one. They are adding DLC to it, which is even cooler. And the way Nintendo this is developed by Raw Thrills, which is basically the successor to Midway from back in the day. It's owned by the same guy. It's owned by the guy who made Smash TV, for God's sakes. But he said that they're adding DLC. So this is a Nintendo published game, so who knows, the DLC might even be free, because Nintendo likes doing that for the games that have like gotten to be successful, like out of the blue. Like they did that for Mario Tennis Aces. They did it for the golf game as well. They also did it for ARMS. They added a lot of content to ARMS that they didn't need to, because it was more popular than they thought it would be. I think they're just thankful, and I think they've talked to the guys from Raw Thrills in order to they were in an interview recently, and they stated they would love to bring back the arcade versions or the N64 versions of the old Cruisin games. If
please, those games are amazing.
Yeah, the newest one is even better than any of those old ones. But
yeah, well, I've seen some of its levels. It looks great. I just remember having good memories with USA and Worlds. I don't think I ever played Exotica, but I'm sure that's great too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just fun. Good, stupid fun. It's not,
Yeah, you go up a ramp and you, like, backflip your car. It's dumb, but who cares?
It's dumb in the best ways, and
it's supposed to be dumb.
This is made by the same company who made Target Terror.
The greatest game ever made.
Yeah, I mean, it's digitized actors that are, really, really stupid, like, all the time in all their games.
Yeah, like Lethal Enforcer style, where every enemy is like asshole in sunglasses.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody that they just found in the
or
fucking
sometimes
office.
a guy pops up right in your face with like nunchucks. Like, what?
Or people that look like they are confused about where they are.
It's so good. It's so good.
This was also pretty cool. NG Dev announced their first HD shmup. It's going to be called Gunvein. Do you know who NG Dev is?
No, unless this is some weird Neo Geo dev.
So you are not far from the truth.
Okay.
NG Dev team was a company that that specialized in bringing postmortem Neo Geo games out.
Okay.
So they what they would do is they would make a game kind of like Xenocrisis. Xenocrisis did that, where they would program a Neo Geo MVS game way past its death, right?
Sure.
So they started doing that, and then then people were like, hey, why don't you bring it to like a more accessible console? So they started making
literally the least accessible console they could think of, like the Neo Geo. Like, come on now, who owns one of those?
Not only that, but like every time you buy one of the games, it's like $500 because you're literally buying like arcade hardware like every time. So
like when I went to middle school, I was friends with the rich kid whose father was like one of the higher ups of like a company that was a big deal at the time. He did not have, like, he had every game system, not Neo Geo.
Yeah, nobody had that.
Nobody had a fucking Neo Geo. You don't go to your friend's house. Want to play Neo Geo?
So basically, the only people that had Neo Geos were like crazy people back then.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, like they were mainly used by hotels, like as a system you could rent for your for a night.
Because that's the only way you were ever touching one of those.
Exactly. So
those were exorbitantly expensive, like at the time.
The fact that
today
anybody had one back then is honestly a miracle.
Yeah.
Honestly, especially in the United States, because I could see the enthusiast culture in Japan at least having the market for something like that, but not in the U.S. Back then. Like I'm not exaggerating. Literally, like those games were $200 to $300 a pop back then. That's without inflation. Like that's how much they cost back then. And I have one, but I have like oddly enough, the arcade version of it is cheaper than the home version of it.
Yeah, figure that out.
Because there are more of them. there are more of the arcade versions than the home versions. I have a consoleized version of the arcade version, but even that is exorbitantly expensive these days. In fact, I probably bought it at the very right time, because I think they've shot up like $300 in value from where they already were.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you hear about new thing I should probably get. Oh, I'll get it. Kind of expensive, but I guess I'll bite the bullet. And then now more people have heard of it, and product is being developed. So now it's like, well, it's like it's a bit different with the AVS because they're having to halt production for a little while, but like that's going up in value now that it's been spread around because it's been a few years since it came out.
Well, think about this for the MVS is that like the consoleized versions of those are finite because they have to buy the old boards. They have to buy the old boards out of like an aging like arcade cabinet, and then turn it into a system and make sure that all those parts work and rejuvenate anything that's wrong with it, to make it work properly, and then add hardware onto it so that it's suitable for home use. And all that stuff is in short supply. All the stuff you would add to it is in short supply right now, as well on top of it all. So like I bought it at the right freaking time. I have 2 games for it, literally 2 games, and it's the 2 games that I most wanted for the system. So,
Windjammers and what?
Garou Marco Wolves.
Of course, I should have known that. Okay.
So I mean, they're literally like the 2 of the best games for the system, right?
But do you have Cyberlip? That's
I do
the
not.
real question.
That game is okay, but like the twist is fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, it's one of the few games, like so many of these games, like you play for the experience, but Cyberlip, it's good, but the ending's memorable.
Yeah, exactly. Well, NG Dev team, you know what they decided to do to bring it to something more accessible? What they did was they were like, okay, we want to sell like, reasonably priced versions of these games on something, so we're gonna put it on Dreamcast discs for post-mortem Dreamcast games.
That's actually hilarious. Let's make it more accessible. The Dreamcast.
Exactly. So
I mean, they're technically correct.
Their recent philosophy is much better. They release everything on all the systems now.
Yeah, I mean, come the fuck on. Like, this is like, it's not Paprium levels of esoteric, but like, really, the Dreamcast?
So the games they have under their belt are Last Hope, Pink Bullets. Several of their games are kind of like R-Type likes. Those 2 games are R-Type likes. So meaning it's a horizontal shmup with a like shield mechanic.
Sure.
Fast Striker, which is another shmup. Gunlord, which is kind of a spiritual successor to Turrican. It's like a run and gun game in the style of Turrican. So they've made Ryzen X, which is also on modern consoles. They also made a Metal Slug shmup called Krautbuster that isn't on anything else besides Neo Geo at this time.
Krautbuster?
Yes, it's called Krautbuster.
When was this made?
Like last year. Like it's
wow.
Yeah, 2019.
That feels like an authentic 90s kind of name. I'm surprised they attempted that.
Wait, this game is still in production, or pre-production, I think.
Oh, well, they better finish it soon before it becomes Sauerkraut Buster.
Yeah, I don't think they finished this one. So anyway, they have decided that they want to actually, be a real game developer. Yeah. So it's really funny. But they've been like, oh yeah, we put in a ton of work and time into this. Maybe I might want to sell this to a broader audience.
Sure.
They're making their first HD shmup, and so I'm excited about that because they make good games. Also, Einen, which is like one of my favorite companies that just appeared out of nowhere. I don't know who they are, but for some reason they keep like putting out bangers. This is the company that is putting out like those Natsume remakes.
Okay.
They're putting out like the US version of the Ninja Saviors, and They also put out the Cotton reboot. The
Wild Guns Reloaded.
I don't know whether they put that one out or not.
Because that's just the Natsume stuff.
Yeah, but let me see here. Einen games. They've made quite a few games that I've been in love with. Let me see here. They're putting out that Taito Milestones games that I talk about.
Right.
They put out the US versions of those Darius collections that I've been talking about. All the Cotton games, basically. The Space Invaders collection, the Turrican collection, Root Double, physical of Root Double, which is a visual novel that's highly acclaimed.
I think I might have that one.
You have this one, Wonder Boy, Asha, and Monster World. They put that out.
The Shantae before Shantae.
Bubble Bobble for Friends, physical of that. They're putting out the modern console versions of Ultra Core.
Oh, okay.
which is like a game that never got released.
Yeah, that
but then it
secret
did.
Genesis game that was in development in the 90s and just died.
They also
It was
are
going to be called Hardcore, but like that's impossible to Google now.
yeah, no, that's bad. And also the physical copies of Crosscode, which is a great game.
That is like I mean, I Indiegogo backed that game. That spectacular title.
So yeah, they are like secret. They are like the secret company that came out of frickin' nowhere. I mean out of frickin' nowhere, and they are putting out like retail. These are not like limited run like games.
Oh yeah,
these are
like I
these are
remember
games
seeing
you can find
Crosscode
these on
Amazon.
retail. Yeah, you can buy these all on Amazon. All the ones that I just listed. They are even putting out the new Cotton game, Cotton Fantasy, when that comes out. They also recently published Clockwork Aquario, which I have been talking about as well. The Lost Westone arcade game that they finally were able to launch. They even like added all kinds of modes to it. They did a really good job with it. They work occasionally with super limited games, I think, or strictly rare games. Yeah, strictly limited.
Well,
games.
there's super rare and there's strictly limited.
Strictly limited is the one that they work.
Yeah, strictly limited did Ninja Saviors and Crosscode.
Yeah,
I think Cotton.
Yeah, so they work with them. On occasion, so they're just a wonderful company. But they just announced that they are coming out with the Western version of the Taito Mini arcade.
Okay.
The one that I've talked about in the past. It's called the Egret II Mini. So it's very similar to the Sega ones that we've also been talking about. The Sega Astro Mini. Yeah, it's the Sega Astro Mini.
Yeah.
So just a reminder of the games that are on this. There are 50 of them. Like 50 Taito games. Like, that's insane. Mm-hmm. They have all of the Bubble games, including Bubble Symphony, which is very exciting. Bubble Symphony is like one of the best games ever made. It's really, really good. It has elevator action returns on it in addition to the original game. Darius Gaiden, which is one of the best Darius games. Kaiser Knuckle, which is a fun beat 'em up. Kiki Kai Kai, Legend of Kage. There's just like too many to talk about. There's like a billion games on this thing.
Yeah.
But like Puzzle Bobble, Bust a Move, Space Invaders games, Arkanoid games, like tons of them. But this is really exciting because they have the mid 90s Taito games, which are the best Taito games they ever released. So you are like 50 games. That's like a ton.
Yeah, mid 90s Taito is like elevator action returns, Growl, G Darius.
Yeah.
Like there's some serious business in there.
Yeah, there's some really, really good games. Now, the really appealing thing about the Egret Mini that I did talk about when it was put up for release, the Japanese version, is that it has all kinds of expansion controllers that you could buy if you want to get like the full experience, and one of them is like a spinner one, if you want to play Arkanoid. So
you mean like the little turny knob?
Yeah, exactly. So they have a paddle controller. So there's like, but the thing is, if I wanted all of these things, like back, it was like $500 for the Japanese version. So hopefully the US version won't be $500.
At the very least, you won't have to pay half shipping of your earnings in shipping. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So I think you could still buy this from PlayAsia, but it'll kill you. But yeah, this is a beautiful looking piece of hardware too. It just looks neat. So I really hope that I can get the the shmup Astro Mini that they're putting out right now, and this Egret 2 if they're reasonably priced. I doubt they will be, but a man could dream. And I also wanted to talk about Clockwork Aquario real quick. The strictly limited release of Clockwork Aquario did make its way out. It did get shipped out last week, so I'm very happy with it, with my copy of it. I basically have all the Westone games in physical format, or most of them, and I'm just really happy with what they did. So. In order to make this game, it was like a huge undertaking because all that remained of this game was just a single prototype board, and it was like in disuse. So there was like a lot of corruption and things like that. They had to remake game assets from like different sprites had to be made in the original style because like the original code had like degraded. So like they put this entire game together. This is like basically like finding Metropolis on film, and
finding a deleted scene in your personal copy.
Exactly, which was a thing that happened. Yep. They added 20 minutes to that movie because somebody found a copy of it with an extra scene in it, and quite a lengthy one apparently. Or it was something like 12 to 20 minutes, I think, or something like that. But anyway, which is not short amount of time in a movie. So like that, it's a big portion of it. So yeah, and get this, the music was also corrupted, but they had luckily recorded it onto a CD for back then.
Oh my god!
So they were able to actually like reconstitute the music into the game from the CD recordings, because they had put it on a CD to put out like a soundtrack, like a sellable soundtrack. Eventually, if the game had made it big, and it didn't, but they had enough foresight to like get arcade hardware recordings of all that music. So it's just really interesting. They explain that actually in the physical release of Clockwork Aquario. They were like, "You are very lucky to have this game. Thank you for buying this. It's it's pretty cool." So it has it's a lot of fun. It's an action platformer. So it's kind of similar to Ristar or Dynamite Heady, if you ever played those games for the Genesis. So what you do to attack the enemies in this game is you hop on them or you hit them and you stun them, and then you can either kill the enemy from there by hopping on it, or you can grab the enemy that you stunned and throw them at the other enemies, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool mechanic. So it's almost kind of like the original like Kirby stuff that you had to do. You had to like wait for a boss to shoot an enemy that you could stun,
sure,
and to in order to use them as ammunition. So it's a pretty fun game. I really like it. Has a lot of extra features, like they have like an easy mode, a normal mode, a hard mode, where they put different limits on your credit feeds, and stuff like that. They have unlockable bonus content. It's just a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. So I wanted to throw a quick little spotlight on there. Also, on Arcade Archives, there was a landmark title released. Do you know anything about the title Xexex?
I do not believe so. Closest I can think of is like... Oh, this is going to bother me. Like, weren't there a couple of games that had just like X's and Y's as the title?
Yeah. There's kind of a kind of a Capcom game that has a similar name as well from earlier in arcade history. I forget what it's called. I think it's called X's. If that's what that's called. But I'll explain. So this game came out in the mid-90s, which is, if you ask me, the best time for shmups and like pixel arcade games. Like that, this is at their height before they moved on to like 3D graphics, right? So like the best beautiful looking sprite art came from this era, with a few exceptions moving forward. You know, you had stuff like King of Fighters 12, which is probably the most lush pixel art ever created, ever. But this game, these games back in the mid 90s were really the pinnacle of where the industry was at the time. A lot of that really advanced hardware and stuff was hard to port over, so they never really, a lot of companies really ditched the idea of porting a lot of their games from that era. So like Taito like rarely publishes Elevator Action Returns, for instance, even though it's one of their best games. It's just on really odd hardware. It's kind of hard to port, that kind of thing. So this is a Konami shmup that came out, and it's very similar to R-Type. It kind of has that like launch a shield unit kind of system, but it has it's like a spin on that formula. They had only ever ported this game one time, and it was to the PSP, to the Salamander collection.
All right.
Which was Japan only. So this game got ported once. So the only way that people ever played this game was through MAME, really. And you know how imperfect MAME can be. So people were taking notice of how beautiful this game was. It has very lavish pixel art, very bright stuff going on in it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a really good game. It's very, very difficult, but it's just one of those games from like the late shmup lineage of Konami that like really never got its due, and people it's like one of those legendary games that nobody ever had access to. So this was put out on the Switch eShop this week for like $7.99, like $7.99 for this game, like this legendary game that never got a freaking port, you know, except to the PSP of all things. The weird thing is that the Arcade Archives always releases it given like the title, like the US title of these games, and they're not really known by the people who play them, because the US versions of these games are exceedingly rare. You could probably imagine that Xexex, like how many North American like boards do you think were out there in the wild? I've never seen this game ever, and I've gone to arcades my entire life. So what do they call it? I think it's called like Oberon or something. Yeah, what is it called in the US? It's called like Oberon or something, and you have to buy it like as Oberon, even though like if you did know about this game, you would know it as XX. Like, yeah. They did the same thing with Gradius 1 and 2. They're called their like stupid like American
like mercenary
names,
or rebel or something.
So the first one's called Nemesis, and the second one's called Vulcan Venture. Nobody calls them that.
Whatever, yeah.
They call them Gradius and Gradius 2.
And then all of a sudden on Super Nintendo, there's Gradius 3, and you're like, what?
Well, here's the thing. The reason why we call them Gradius is because the original Gradius, when it came to consoles, when it came to the NES, it was called Gradius. It wasn't called Nemesis like it was in the arcade. So, like, I guess you would have been confused if you were a kid back then and you had played Nemesis in the arcade and then it was ported as Gradius. But, you know.
Yeah, and you know there's that one kid who's like, I'm sorry, man, I played Nemesis first, so I'm just used to it. I call all the games Nemesis 3, Nemesis 4.
Yeah, no, it's called Orius. I'm sorry. Orius is Xexex American name.
That's a much more appropriate name, yeah.
Orius. It's just funny because like nobody knows it as Aureus or Arius or whatever. So it's a shame that it's kind of hidden. It's like why don't you just call it Xexex for this one time? Like they did the same thing with Twinbee. They called it Bells and Whistles. Nobody knows it as Bells and Whistles.
Get the hell out of here.
Or they called it Rainbow Bell Adventure, the sequel, Rainbow Bell Adventure. No, it's Twinbee. Like everybody knows that it's Twinbee. All the shmup fans know it as Twinbee. Call it Twinbee and sell it like that. What's wrong with you? It's like it's so stupid. It's like I don't know. It's like selling. I don't know what an equivalent of that would be, but I don't know. I don't know, but it's just goofy. It's just goofy.
Insisting on calling Return of the Jedi Blue Harvest.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Not that that was ever really supposed to be. I mean, I guess that was like a gotcha title, but it's not like it was distributed that way. But it's like, what?
It would be like if Fists of the North Star were called like if they
Last Battle.
Last Battle, yeah, exactly. And then they insisted on calling it Last Battle.
Yeah, then they localized the anime. It's Last Battle. Like what?
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. You know. Also, Retrotink 5X got a fantastic new update. It's at a 2.0 status in its firmware. I can't speak highly enough about this as a way to play retro games on your analog systems on a new monitor. This is the thing, and mostly I have to tell you, not only is it like the highest quality of any of these things. I mean, the FrameMeister and the OSSC have their uses and their edge uses for people that are really into it. But this thing is so easy to use. You just plug things into it and it works.
Yeah, that's always fun.
None of the other two are like. It's painful to get those things running. Like you have to download like profiles and that fans made. That you have to know what you're doing. You have to tune them. This one you can plug your Saturn into, and it works, and it looks beautiful on your home system. There's no lag, and the resolution switching is not a thing. Like it is not an issue anymore. I cannot tell you what I've been waiting for this for years, like a good 10 years for something like this to exist, and it's finally here. And it's continually being supported and getting new features all the time for anybody who wants to finally tune this thing, even though it doesn't need it. I'm just so happy that it exists. So I wanted to throw that out there. And one final thing from me, I wanted to say, I quickly wanted to talk about this, but the new Spider-Man movie, No Way Home, has I think they're predicting that it will be $1 billion by worldwide by the end of this weekend. So
I think it might have hit it.
Yeah, even might have hit it. It's on track to be the biggest movie of all time. I think it's going to beat Endgame. Honestly.
No, it hit it. It hit it.
Okay, it hit it. I think it's on track to beat Endgame. And that's incredible given the global situation and the way things are right now and the things leading up to it. So, I also have to say that it is absolutely worth it. It is absolutely worth seeing. Lotus, it might be the best superhero movie ever made, and I'm not saying that lightly. It is that good.
I mean, you seen Meteor Man?
I've seen Adam West Batman, and
well, that is up there. Remember that time where he punched? And somehow 3 villains standing next to each other all fell down. That was pretty great.
Well, I mean, it didn't actually show the point of contact, so you don't know what he did.
That's a good point. It could have been anything.
But it is... I don't want to talk about it because that's kind of the fun of it.
Well, yeah, spoilers.
Like the whole thing, the entire movie is basically a spoiler. It is just that good, but not only that, but the acting, the performances, might be the best I've ever seen in the Marvel ones, especially.
I was gonna say thank you for that qualifier, because again, Meteor Man.
But I have to say, like, in all seriousness, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Tom Holland got nominated for an Academy Award. He did a really good job with the acting in it. And the other people that are in it, I'm not going to talk about that, but the other people that are in it did a fantastic job, too.
Yeah, isn't, like, half the cast, like, a spoiler?
Correct. I cannot talk about it. Like, I
only know about 2 of them, and that's because they were in the trailers.
Well, I'm not even talking about that because maybe some people have even avoided that, which...
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly,
which it would have been better to do that, because that was quite a reveal.
The entire crux of this movie is about surprises, but it pays off on them in a way that I never expected it to. The payoff is excellent. So much so that I wish I could talk about it. I really wish I could, but I can't because it is so wonderful. And for anybody who's jaded about the Marvel movies, like Lotus included, about, like, you know, keeping up with them or anything like that, this is a movie that you could watch and just have some, like, foreknowledge about, like, Spider-Man, and really understand why it's that good. It helps to watch the other Spider-Man movies, I guess, the first 2 Tom Holland ones, but honestly, it's not about that. It's more of a personal story about, you know, a superhero that fucks up. Like, Spider-Man messes up a lot, and
yeah, that's a lot of his just existence. It's just like his whole thing is he's not Mr. Perfect. I'll come save the day, and then he does it.
Like, there are several defining moments in Spider-Man's history where he just fails at what he was trying to do. He always has the best of intentions, but there are several moments where he just loses in the worst way possible, and that's kind of what makes the character good. He maintains his optimism and the core of his character despite the bad things that have happened to him. Actually, it's kind of his driving force. He's moral because of those things.
Yeah, like, I want to prevent that from happening ever again. He doesn't, like, become the Punisher or anything.
No, in fact, he's exactly the opposite because of those things. And it's really great to see a movie that's high budget, that has so much riding on it, actually take the time to understand why people love the character so much, and give people a reason to love the character all over again because of it. So I'm not going to be, like, I don't cry very often in movies. I cried very specifically with you.
Yeah, Toy Story 3.
During Toy Story 3, because it was an emotional goddamn movie. If anybody ever saw that movie, it's almost kind of similar, right? The first Toy Story movie was made when we were kids. When we were, like, 10, 11, 12, or, right around
something
there.
Like that, yeah. And the series grew up with its viewers.
And, like, Andy was us, right? And the movie is like that, right? The movie is about letting go of your childhood and letting go of your toys and passing it on to the next person. But also, it's also about, like, existential dread on top of it. And that movie is very emotional. This one is emotional in a different way about different things, but it managed to capture like what is so good about the driving forces of the character that it made me cry. And it that doesn't happen often, and I'm not very cynical. I'm not being cynical at all about this movie. It is excellent. Go out and see it. Do not look up anything about it. It's better and better the less you know about it. And I recommend it for anybody, like young and old, who knows anything about Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is intrinsically tied in pop culture, in movies from our childhood, in particular, for all the way back going to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, because that was a movie that came out during a time where superhero movies were not a thing. They were rare things. So, like, when X-Men and the original X-Men and the original Spider-Man movies came out, that was a big deal, and we wouldn't have the Marvel movies we have now without those.
Yeah, and not only that, but Spider-Man was particularly ambitious, because didn't they use like new technology to capture the feeling of web slinging?
It wasn't even just new technology; it was new directing techniques. It was
because like, how do you do that? How do you make the viewer feel like they're web swinging? Like, that's insane, and this is 20 years ago.
Yeah, they literally took a camera and basically made it do the web slinging, like through New York. They had it like on like a pulley system.
Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's incredible. Just go and watch it. It is that good, and I don't want to. I'm not just saying that. It is a movie that pays off in a way that I never expected it to, because it's unreasonable to believe a movie would be that good. Honestly, and it's the last movie that I felt like that about was Mad Max.
Yeah, Mad Max had no business being as good as it was.
Exactly. This movie,
like it was like years in development hell. 20 to 30 years after the last Mad Max movie was released, this is going to be embarrassing. And it was like the movie of the year.
I was on the edge of my seat the entire time during this, and not only that, but it takes its time. Like, there's actual character development in this movie. Like,
sure.
And it develops all the characters. Like, like, you know how, like, the villains usually get left behind, especially if there are a lot of them, or several of them? It takes the time to address them all. and
yeah, that was what made Batman Returns good, is there was a surprising amount of time that focuses on the villains.
Like, the character of the villains is absolutely a big part of the movie. And I did not expect that. Not only that, but it kind of ties into a discussion we had about Batman earlier. Like, you know, like, Batman just goes around and beats the crap out of people with mental illness. Like, you know how we had that discussion?
Mm-hmm.
That is literally something they address in the movie.
Okay.
like they're like, it's a thing.
Did they mention Batman specifically?
No, but like Spider-Man's villains.
Okay, because I was gonna say the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man name-dropped Superman, like, as a joke. You're not Superman, you know? And it's like,
No, they literally address that Spider-Man's villains are people with problems, rather than just, like, being villains.
Yeah, well, in the Maguire movies, like, Octopus and Sandman, most obviously. Norman Osborn,
his gas is making him nuts. Like,
yeah, he had a drug-induced problem that he didn't know was causing that kind of problem, and I don't know if there's really an excuse for Eddie Brock. He's the cause of all of his problems, but, like, intentionally so.
Well,
he didn't expect to get fired, but, like,
the suit has a legitimate reason.
The suit does have a legitimate reason, yes.
The suit is in love with Peter. It basically says that in the original
suit was just
comic.
trying to help, and Peter's like, "Nah, man, you're ruining my life," and he casts him out.
In the comic, it basically all but says that the suit loves him. And it even saves him from dying after it rejects him and almost withers away and dies. It's an emotional moment in the comic from the 80s, like that you don't expect. You don't expect like old comics to say basically that a symbiote suit loves a man. You know what I mean? Like it says that without saying it, but it that's what it's saying. But anyway, you just have to watch it. It's that good. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. And anything else before we wrap things up, Lotus?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. That is the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. This week, we will be talking about some of the best media and things we've consumed over the course of the year, kind of a year in review for 2021 as the last show for this year. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything. Just give me a heads up.
And you could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, I'm currently doing Contradiction, Spot the Liar.
Ooh,
how about that?
Neat.
If
I love
were
that
to
game.
Stream this,
I really wish they made a sequel to that.
The best chance you've got is that a different publisher made The Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker and The Shapeshifting Detective, which has a couple of not characters but actors carry over into them.
That's cool.
So there's a bit of that going on. But yeah, there's no straight up sequel, which would be interesting.
That game
leaves room for a sequel.
That game is way better than it should be.
And it was crowdfunded too.
It is like, I don't say this lightly. It is a fantastic FMV game, like a freaking fantastic FMV game.
Yeah, Jenks is. I mean, that's not his name; that's the character's name. But his acting is just so fun all the time. But in any case, if you're interested in seeing stuff like that. Selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
All right, everybody. We'll catch everybody on Thursday then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.